Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm your host, Sheil Kapadia. Today, we are giving out gifts around the NFL. It's the holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We thought, let's find some people, some teams, some fan bases, whatever, to give gifts to. So we got some gifts for the fine people of Kansas City. We got some gifts for the New York Giants, the Ravens, the Steelers. And then we got one where it just kind of depends. You could give this gift to a variety of people. So a lot of fun. Our guest today is the Ringer's Billy Gil. As you know by now, our conversations go in a number of different directions. This one was no exception. Let's take a break. We come back with Billy Gil. This episode of the Ringer NFL show is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a C captain? Sure, they're both captains, but who is going to run your offense? You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team, so don't settle for just any insurance. When it comes to getting the help you need, State Farm is the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. All right, we are back here on the Ringer NFL show with Billy Gil. We are handing out gifts. Billy, are you in the gift-giving spirit this morning?
Of course. I love giving gifts, Sheil. Do you think it's better to give or receive?
Give. Come on. We're in the holiday spirit. All right, so you start us off. Who are you giving a gift to in the NFL?
Okay, so these are NFL gifts that we're giving away holiday season. I think the first gift that I'm going to give is to the state of Kansas. I'm going to give them the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I think, this is one of those that is very realistic, I guess, given the recent news that they actually are giving the Kansas City Chiefs to the state of Kansas.
What a crazy story, huh? And also kind of sad a little bit, right? The Chiefs, I always think of Arrowhead. They have one of, I think, the best NFL home field advantages. It gets so loud there. And then seemingly out of the blue, I mean, I guess if you're following, local Kansas City politics, you know that this was probably something that was going on and it was further along. But for the most part, for people who are just NFL consumers, you're like, wait, the Chiefs are actually moving? Because going back through sports history, you have all of these teams constantly threatening, we're going to go. If you don't give us a new stadium, we're going to leave. We're going to leave. And it never happens. And eventually they get the stadium deal. But no, it's announced that they reached a deal to have a new $3 billion stadium across state lines in the state of Kansas. And I was looking, Sheil, into this a little bit. So they obviously talked to Clark Hunt, who's now the owner. And he went on and he gave quotes like, we made this decision as a family that this was the right opportunity and best for the organization for several reasons. And then goes on to say, it's about the fans. My dad cared about the fans, and this is a fans first thing. And it's like, I think most fans would think taking their team is not the most fan first initiative here. But I looked it up. There's not a location that has been decided yet, but they want to move it near the Kansas Speedway, which I looked up between Arrowhead and the Kansas Speedway. It's 24 miles. So it's not a big move, but it's a move nonetheless. So I guess we're giving the state of Kansas, the Kansas City Chiefs, but also I'd like to give the Chiefs some coal if I can, because I feel like the Hunts and the Chiefs are being bad boys and girls this year because they're taking Arrowhead out of our lives and they're giving us a dome. I don't want a dome in Kansas City. No. I know that they're saying this is a fan-friendly thing, no more snow, and now they do that whole thing where we're going to have this new stadium for 50 years, 60 years, and we're going to get Super Bowls, and we're going to get CFP games, and we're going to get Final Four indoor games, and all this and that. No. When I think Kansas City, I think winter game. I think snow. I think a fan base that's out there camping out since the night before, tailgating since 8 a.m. for an 8 p.m. start. They have the barbecues going. You're walking around. There's all this Midwest hospitality where they're here, try this meat, try that meat. It's a whole community that loves the elements. And I feel like putting in a dome takes all of that away.
Everything about this sucks. I'm with you. Give them coal. put them on the naughty list. I mean, this is, for the fans, no way. There's no way that the fans are voting like, move out. And you're right. It's not that it's that far. Like, I grew up in, the Philadelphia suburbs. Sometimes we would go to Delaware, do a little tax-free shopping, that's okay. It's not that far to get to, but it is a different state. And when it's your team and you have the tradition to move them across state lines, that is an issue. And to your point, I'm reading the Sportico article, Billy, and they say that the Chiefs are receiving $1.8 billion in public money, which is a record for a U.S. venue. So that, I'm with you. The Kansas City politics are not coming up on my algorithm. I don't have like the newsletters that I'm reading every day, but we all know what this usually is. And so I read that, my ears perk up. And then, I'm glad you brought up the thing about college football playoffs and a Super Bowl. They're so out of touch with fans. Like, if you are a fan of the Chiefs, what do you care if the stadium's getting the Super Bowl? Or
Jayhawks aren't going to be there.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to pay for the tickets to go to those games. They're going to be astronomical. You like your 8 home games a year, where to your point, you have tradition, you tailgate, you bundle up, you get the hand warmers, you throw on the long underwear, and guess what? You go there, you watch Patrick Mahomes, you have memories that last a lifetime, and now they're not only putting you in a dome, they're making you drive across state lines. I don't like anything about it.
Here's something that I wonder, right? Because the Bills are another place that I think snow games, them throwing snowballs on the field. These are people that are crazy. They jump through tables, they light fires, they do the ketchup and mustard, all that stuff, right? They're building a new stadium that does not have a dome. So they are going to stick with the miserable elements. And I feel like everyone that saw them building a new stadium looked at them and like, why are you building a new stadium without a dome to still be miserable, and criticize them? And now the Chiefs are doing the opposite. And now I'm here telling the Chiefs, hey, you know what? I don't like it. Stick with the elements. So it seems as though, at least with me, this is a no-win situation with these teams where they will be criticized no matter what.
Well, they could have renovated Arrowhead Stadium. I think that was the thing that they went out. Then you're outside. Same place, you get the new bells and whistles, you make a big thing. But then it sounds like the owners would have, the state of Missouri was not giving them the money that the state of Kansas was giving them.
Well, I think just in terms of like for editorial purposes and to avoid potential legalities and all that, I believe that the Hunt family has pledged $1 billion of their own towards this project.
Yeah.
Now, we'll see exactly how that works because public funding is always kind of like a funny game, and it comes from taxes to visitors and this and that. And it always seems to move around. And like the taxpayers are always the ones that end up getting screwed in this situation. But also a cop-out that they're moving across state lines, but they wanted to remain in Kansas City, Kansas, presumably to keep the name the Kansas City Chiefs. I feel like, you know what? It sticks. Make a stand. If you're gonna do this to the fans, you're gonna
go
move
all the way.
Yeah, I don't like what they're doing here. Situation.
They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. We know Kansas City, Kansas is not the same as Kansas City, Missouri. I'm sorry.
Now,
family.
Granted, as a child, if you were to ask me, do they play in Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri, I wouldn't have been able to tell you the difference. But something stinks here. And they also had a nice setup there where they had it right next to the Royals Stadium, and it was a shared parking lot. I love a venue with a shared parking lot. They have that similar in Baltimore. In Detroit, you have the baseball stadium right next to Ford Field. It's great. Yeah. Now we're splitting this up. Now people need to learn a new route to get to the state. It's just, and this isn't the time. 2-3 days before Christmas, not the time for this news.
After your quarterback just went down and your team's no, this is not the time.
You know what? I would like to give Chiefs fans something now that we're on the subject. I want to give Chiefs fans a reprieve for the rest of the season. You can check out. Season's over. And after 2031, if you want to stick to it, you can check out on the team altogether after they move for doing this to you. This was not a Santa Claus Christmas type move. This was a very Grinch who stole Christmas move by the Hunts.
100%. Glad you brought it up. Glad you tied it in, the newsy peg to the gimmick that we're doing on the show. That's a nice job by you. Okay. Yeah. Good gimmick. All right. My first gift here, Billy. I am gifting the New York Giants a new head coach. Okay. Ooh. Their season is going down the tank. Mike Kafka, I don't know if you're watching Hard Knocks. It looks like he gets paid by the F-bomb. He doesn't kind of know how to curse, but he's cursing a lot. It's not going great for the New York Giants. And how do you keep track of like the head coaching candidate lists? Are you in on that?
Well,
You know,
I've seen that there's always the rumors and speculations, and every team always wants that hot candidate, and then every team always wants like, well, who is that retired coach that hasn't been around a couple seasons? Maybe we get that coach. A Belichick, if you will, always makes his way onto the list, even after a very disappointing college season. Then you have kind of like the dream scenarios where you think about the college coaches where like a Marcus Freeman is rumored. Maybe he wants to be the Giants coach. Then there's always the old coach that did it back in the day. Maybe we can bring that coach back for one last ride. We made a mistake. So who are we talking? Who are we thinking here?
So you look at the list and you see Mike McCarthy and Joe Brady and Lou Anarumo. It's not exciting. You know, it's not exciting, Billy. And so I was watching the Eagles-Commanders game last week on Saturday, and we did a Philly special episode after. And I kind of soft launched this take where I said, you know what? I bet the Eagles at some point, you know, whenever the Nick Sirianni era is over, I bet they would have Greg Olsen on their list of potential head coaches, you know, outside the box, forward thinking, seems like a nice guy, all these things. I bet, you know, just keep that in your mind for like maybe 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And then I did some digging, Billy, and I started connecting some dots here.
Ooh.
And did you know Greg Olsen was born and raised in New Jersey?
No.
That his high school, Wayne Hills High School, was a 31-minute drive from MetLife Stadium. He grew up right there in the shadows of MetLife Stadium. His dad was a high school coach in New Jersey, won 8 state titles, led Wayne Hills High School on a 55-game winning streak. And I'm thinking about how all these teams do the interviews and they don't have a great process for hiring head coaches. We hear Greg Olsen talk about football every week for 3 hours in kind of a, you know, it's just an improvised way. He doesn't know. It's not scripted, unscripted way. Seems like a smart guy to me. Seems like he knows what's happening in real time in a game. Seems like he's up to date with analytics and the trends in the NFL. Seems like he was a good teammate, could probably relate to players, knows what it's like to be in their shoes. And so I thought, you know what? I actually don't think the Eagles 5-10 years from now, they might have to cross that off, because I think this isn't even a bit. I swear to God. I think if I were an owner right now and I said, make a list of guys I want to interview, I think Greg Olsen would be number one on my list of potential head coaches this offseason. Tell me I'm crazy.
Okay, so is this, before we go too deep, is this like the classic Louis Riddick situation where every year, every team is like, this is going to be the year that someone hires Louis Riddick to be their general manager, and it never happens because they see him on TV talking about things?
I don't think so. I think this is a think outside the box. And I know Greg Olsen at one point threw his name into a hat for the Panthers head coaching job in 2023. I know he's doing like a youth sports podcast. I don't even know if he would definitely be interested, but who would you be more excited about? Greg Olsen or Lou Anarumo? I mean, what are we talking about here?
So I like the Greg Olsen thing because you pointed out some things. You say, this guy seems like he'd be a good teammate. He has the local ties. You start going into those interviews. You meet with the higher ups. He drops in his high school. He mentions like an ice cream shop that he went to, whatever.
Yes.
Like, hold on. This guy already gets our culture. He's already starting to feel this. I know what it's like
to be a Jersey boy.
Exactly,
you know, you can say.
Right.
Yeah.
And if we remember, so Greg Olsen most recently was in the news because Greg Olsen was incredible at broadcasting, and he was the number one broadcast team at Fox. And everybody kind of thought, hey, you know what? Greg Olsen got the short end of the stick here. They bring in Tom Brady. He's now bumped from the A team. He goes on. He's like at the lesser assignments. Then the questions start coming about. What do we do with Greg Olsen? Is Greg Olsen going to switch companies? Is he going to go somewhere else? What is his play here? How does he combat this whole Tom Brady situation? And what did Greg do? Greg said, you know what? No, I am committed. I have my contract. I'm going to fulfill my duties and my obligations. Was I doing the best I could? Yes. Did I work my way up to have this great job? Absolutely. Was I passed over? Yes. What does he do? He stores that away for a rainy day. And he says, you know what? I'm going to continue to go out there. I'm going to do my job to the best of my abilities. But when the right opportunity comes around, I, Greg Olsen, am going to say, you know what? I was passed over. I wasn't going to pout. I wasn't going to make a public mess of all these things, but I see an opportunity here. I see a great path for the future. Maybe I'd take it if I'm Greg Olsen. Who knows? Who knows?
I mean, you gave me goosebumps, but you tell that story in front of a team, about cornerbacks thinking I got passed over for this other guy, and Greg Olsen can say, I've been in your shoes. You ever heard of a guy named Tom Brady? Let me tell you a little story by the campfire. So Greg Olsen, Giants fans, come on. You got excited with that idea. You're on the group chats. People are mentioning, Clint Kubiak. All right, that's fine. Greg Olsen is a guy you know. He knows your town. He knows your state. And he knows football. I think it'd be a great idea.
And it could potentially be disastrous entirely, and he may not know how to coach a team at all. But there's only one way to find out. And I will say this, based on what we've seen on the Giants the past couple seasons, no different. No different.
Past 10 years. Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean, it's been no different. So there you go. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we got a couple more gifts to hand out. This episode is brought to you by Joe Malone London. It's the go-to for fragrances and holiday gifts. If you're looking for a new scent, Cypress and Grapevine is their best-selling men's cologne. It's bold and woody, and it's worn by some of the biggest players in the game. Plus, they've got something for everyone on your holiday gift list, from pre-wrapped gift sets to candles, colognes, and luxury advent calendars to make gifting easy and extra special. Shop holiday favorites at joemalone.com or at a Joe Malone London store near you. All right, we're back on the Ringer NFL show. All right, Billy, what's your next gift? What do you got?
Okay, so this one I thought up before the season started, or very early in the season. And I tried to get it off the ground, but no one was biting. But we now have another full season here. So I'm going to unleash it on you. The group that I unleashed it on before was not very welcoming of this idea, but I was thinking, it's not common at all. What if we gifted two different NFL franchises the gift of a head coach swap?
Ooh, so I like this. Like a Secret Santa almost.
Yeah, a white elephant maybe, if you will, where you say, you know what, I'm going to pull this coach. No, I don't like it. I'm going to steal your coach, and now you get my coach. I like that, Sheil. This is like the whole office party where you go and you're swapping and stealing presents from each other. And the coaches that I'm thinking of are Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh. Now, these, by any estimation, are two of the best coaches that are out there in the NFL right now. However, one has been in his role for 19 years. The other has been in his role for 18 years. Mike Tomlin, at his role in 19 seasons, does not have a losing record any of those seasons. John Harbaugh, the worst season that he had was in 2015. He had a 5-11 record. Since then, he's had an 8-8 twice, and he's had an 8-9 in 2021, and he has a 7-8 this season. Both fan bases seem like they're ready to potentially part ways and move on from these coaches. Both these coaches also would immediately be scooped up by teams looking for head coaches. If either of these coaches hit the market, the Giants would be calling right away, and Greg Olsen would not have a shot. His dream of being a head coach would probably be gone. Harbaugh, there's rumors, should he get fired? Tomlin during the season was, he's lost this team. We don't want to fire him. He's going to have to make the decision to move on himself. If you're Mike Tomlin, you move on to a team with Lamar Jackson, which is like a great upgrade for the football, the quarterback situations he's been dealing with the past years. John Harbaugh, he goes over to Pittsburgh. He has kind of a little rebuild situation going on there, but he's going to be able to choose his quarterback. He's going to take over a team that either sneaks into the playoffs or was just on the cusp of making the playoffs. It's a good spot for both of them. I think that both fan bases could and should be happy if they got either of these coaches. So why not just go make the swap? Go make the trade.
I love this. I think it's great. I've actually heard from Ravens fans that they're like, it would be fun to have Mike Tomlin as our head coach. And that one I can just picture. Mike Tomlin, Lamar Jackson, Baltimore. That feels like it fits to me. I've heard Mike Tomlin interviews in the past, and he's like, the best part of coaching, it's not getting like a D player to be like a C+ player. He's like, it's finding those players who can be A+ players and making them A+ players. And Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs, hasn't had the playoff success, hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. This would be great for Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin might be a little fearful, like, oh, if I leave Pittsburgh, I don't want a grass is greener situation. Like, what if I get stuck with one of these bad franchises? But by all accounts, these are two good franchises. Like, this is good ownership on both accounts. These are great fan bases, facilities, all the things are good for these two fan bases. So I see it from Tomlin's perspective. And from Harbaugh, it's a little bit of a harder sell. But if you're the Steelers, and you are an organization that doesn't like to get rid of head coaches, like John Harbaugh could be your head coach for the next 10 to 15 years. And you say, hey, we are married. We're going to get you. We're going to fix this thing together. We're going to win another Super Bowl. It was just time for a change from Mike Tomlin. I love this idea because the fan bases hate each other's teams, but I think there's a mutual respect for the coaches. And if you remember, Billy, anytime these two teams play, it's like, the underdog has won this matchup, whatever it is, percentage. So each fan base has seen the other coach beat them when their team was favored. So they got that going for them also.
They both have a chip on their shoulder. I didn't really want to leave. I wanted to finish out my career there. Yeah. They made this happen. They didn't want me. Yeah. And when really both of them are probably kind of like, yeah, you know what? Let's make a change, but how do we make this change? So everyone can be served here. And if you're the Steelers, John Harbaugh, if he's available, you're obviously making a play to get John Harbaugh, right? So why
it's
not?
Hard to do better. Yeah.
And where would John, if John Harbaugh is let go, looking at the options out there this offseason, what's a better opportunity? Where would he want to go?
Yeah. Giants are taken. Greg Olson's got the Giants job. Titans, do you like Cam Ward? But I don't know. That's far. Pittsburgh, I've driven from Baltimore, from Owings Mills, Maryland, where the Ravens have their facility, to Pittsburgh. I've driven that before. It's not that bad. You stop, there's rest stops. If you want a BK or something on the way, you can do that. It's really not that bad. All right, our last one here. Billy, I'm going off the wall here for you. Okay. So I need you to stick with me. You focused? Have you had some coffee today? You good?
I'm good.
Okay. I don't want to confuse you here. I am gifting the Buffalo Bills Myles Garrett. Now I know what you're saying. Sheil, what are you talking about? Myles Garrett's on the Browns. How are you gifting the Buffalo Bills Myles Garrett? So I was watching Myles Garrett and thinking, it sucks that we don't get to watch this guy in the playoffs. He's played in 3 playoff games his whole career, one of the best players of his generation. And then I thought, what if we could get great players from bad teams to playoff teams? Is there a way that this could actually work so that everyone would agree to it? So here's the idea. Each team can add a player for the playoffs for the cost of 1 first-round pick. That's the cost. There's no negotiate. So the Bills can say, hey, our defense is terrible. We want to get over the hump. We've got Josh Allen. The AFC is wide open. Let's give the Browns a first-round pick for Myles Garrett. And you're saying, well, why would the Browns do this? Well, the Browns now get the Bills' first-round pick. And what do they care? They're out of the playoffs anyway. It's just for the playoffs. This is a rental. And so they get the pick. And so now you're increasing parity where the non-playoff teams have an opportunity to add draft capital, and they're not really giving anything up. They're just letting their player play for another team for the playoffs. If you're Garrett, you're saying, why would Garrett want to do this? He might just want to go to Cabo when the season's over. And that's true. But you get game checks for the playoffs. You get to add to your legacy. You get to play in big games. You might get a Super Bowl ring. And then guess what? After the playoffs, you're going back to your team. So it's not like Browns fans are like, oh, traitor. You're going right back to the Browns for the 2026 season. So that's the idea. Now the details. Talks can begin after a team has clinched a playoff berth and after another team has been mathematically eliminated. You cannot talk until you know that one team's out and another team's in. The player gets to choose what team they want to go to. So if there's 6 teams saying, of course we want Myles Garrett, he gets to choose. Or he can decline. He could say, I'm just going on vacation. Good luck to everyone in the playoffs. So he gets to choose. But think of how great this would be for content, Billy. You have Eagles saying, should we give up a first for Max Crosby on a playoff run? You got the Patriots. Hey, is it worth giving up a first for Jamar Chase for this playoff? I mean, think of all the possibilities, Billy. Can we make this happen? What do you think?
The only thing that I could see as potentially being an issue, right, is then you are going to start getting the accusations of there were conversations prematurely before one team was eliminated from the playoffs. So then you start questioning, Myles Garrett, did he kind of know how this season was going to end and he just wanted to fast forward and get to his next team for the rental? Like, what is going on there? But you do also get information from Myles Garrett, because if Myles Garrett decides, you know what, I want to let my body rest. I don't want to go to try to win a Super Bowl. I just want to go get to the preseason, go on vacation. It's been a long year, whatever. Then you start saying, you know what, Myles Garrett, does he have what it takes? Does he have the heart to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah.
I don't know. And you start getting that information, because on the Browns, you're never going to really figure it out because you're not put in that position. But here you can kind of go. And then you also, Sheil, have the added bonus of, well, you have a certain amount of time that you can kind of reach these agreements. Their team needs to be eliminated from the playoffs. Your team needs to be in the playoffs, but it's going to cost you a first round pick. So there's a Myles Garrett out there. But if I wait and there's a better player who's available who's not going to be eliminated to week 18,
that's
do
right.
I hold my first round pick and gamble that they're going to lose? Or do I give away my first round to try to get Myles Garrett? Now you're kind of seeing where it is that people stand, who really wants to go for it, who's going to be more patient. Also, let me ask you something. Do you remember the NBA? It came out like, I think 10 years ago was like the first time that you can do it, right? Where you could basically just void someone's contract against their cap, but you can only use it one time every certain number of years.
Right.
Does every team get this every year, or do you have this like once every few years?
Yeah, you know what? I actually did think about that. Is this something like what would be the right span? Is it 3 years? Is it you can't use it in back-to-back years? So now all of a sudden the Bills have to decide, well, we don't have a great team this year, but also Patrick Mahomes is out, Joe Burrow's out, Lamar Jackson is out. We got to go for it this year. And then next year, maybe they have a better chance. And now their fans are saying, those dummies, they shouldn't have done it last year. We could have done it this year. This is amazing for everybody. Fans, podcasters, the content possibilities here are unbelievable. And you're right. We get a natural pecking order of kind of what teams think about these players. You know, who are they actually going after?
Can I throw out there just one? I know that we're wrapping here, just to think about on the way home or amongst friends over the holiday break or whatever.
Please.
If you're the Steelers or if you're the Panthers, playoff teams, do you try to get Joe Burrow for the playoff run?
I thought about him. I thought about Joe Burrow. What a conversation. We could do 3 hours on the Steelers. How would they do that? Do they send Aaron Rodgers home? Is he the backup? What does he say? He's going now and yelling. He's airing all the Steelers' dirty laundry because they just replaced him with Joe Burrow. As much as we like Bryce Young, Billy, I think the Panthers are probably going to do that for Joe Burrow. You know, and all of a sudden, the Panthers with Joe Burrow, are they a Super Bowl contender?
But also, which team does Joe Burrow choose? The Steelers or the Panthers? I mean,
he's not choosing the Steelers because he's got to go back to Cincinnati next year. So that makes it simple. That's why the players pick is a big one. They got to talk to their agents and their marketing teams. I can't be going and winning the Steelers a Super Bowl. And I live in Cincinnati, but if I go to Charlotte, is anybody really going to care? If I go help the Panthers get to a Super Bowl and we got an extra first round pick? No, nobody's going to care about that.
I'm doing it for the team. I'm getting us more picks.
Yeah, that's true. I'm unselfish. You know, I don't really want to. My body doesn't feel great, but I really feel like we could benefit from this as an organization. And I want to win here in Cincinnati. So I'm going to go put my body on the line. Okay, there you go. All right. I think we're on to something. These were good gifts. Hopefully, the gifts you get, the gifts you give, more importantly, like Billy said, are up to par with the ones we just gave out. No hurry up today. Too much to get to here. So thanks to everybody for listening. Thank you to Billy Gil. Thanks to Christopher Sutton for producing. Kiera Gibbons on social and additional production supervision by Conor, Nevins, and Arjuna. Ramgopowell. I'm Sheil Kapadia. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.